Hi everyone, no news today, so let's get right into the economic calendar and the charts, as well as my results for the day and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So looking at the economic calendar, tomorrow we have CPI for the Eurozone. We also have building permits here at 8:30. Fairly interesting, but nothing crazy for tomorrow. Wednesday obviously is going to be the big day. That's where we get the FOMC decision. The expectation is a pause, but we'll get the comments and the press conference. I'm sure there'll be something interesting in there. Moving over to Max Payne, not a ton of options. Put call ratio very high. Put wall at 440 continues to hold. You can see stock price right at that level. Call wall 450 just like it was last week. Again, we could swing into these areas just because there's so little volume right now. And I'll be interested to see how this adjusts after the FOMC decision. Moving over to the charts, you can see we wicked a low here in the pre-market, rallied into the opening of the day, fell into the end of the session, and then finished basically sideways at this highly traded zone. Didn't really hit any levels here for me on the SPY. You can see it wicked these lows going back to the high from the 23rd of August and the high here on the 28th of August. Did hold this trend line, didn't quite touch it on either chart. But we're definitely neutralized here. I wouldn't expect a ton of movement going into the FOMC, and we have that put wall right at this level. Remember from the weekly video, the weekly chart does look quite negative, and we did get our first bearish momentum candle here on the daily chart in a while, going all the way back to 28 August. So bearish candle, bearish momentum, bearish RSI. Does not look great, but it's not uncommon to just kind of get sideways choppy action into the FOMC decision. Moving over to the NASDAQ, similar thesis. Had this weird candle at the beginning of the day, probably not real price action there. Fell into the pre-market, rallied into the midday, chopped sideways there. Basically the same. Bearish momentum on the daily chart. Basically unchanged on the day. You can see we're at 0.04% down. Still holding my level at 370, so continuing to trade off of that level. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell broke down below my level, closed on the low, looked terrible, bearish momentum, bearish RSI. Clear divergence here between the Russell and the other EMAs. Big breakdown, big close on the low, looks bad. Dow, chopping in this zone, not doing much of anything. Still below all the EMAs and SMAs, so it's definitely a technical downtrend. But we got close to 345.24, held above that level, held above the highly traded zone, going sideways, not doing much of anything. Moving over to Apple and Tesla. Apple had a very good day. It had bounced on Wednesday of last week, came back, tested that level, then bounced pretty strongly right through my level at 176.15. Tested the next one, 178.58. Closed just below it, but it does look like it's holding right at that level. If it's going to break, you would want to do it tomorrow, in my opinion. Bullish momentum, bullish RSI. Looks pretty clean to the upside on Apple. In terms of a price target, my next level would be 182.37. You also have some EMAs right in this zone at 181.41, or this medium-term downtrend line sitting up around 186. A couple of interesting levels there on Apple. Tesla, it's been in this channel for a little bit. Didn't quite test that upside on this last push, and we didn't even get close here on September 15th, and that looks pretty bearish to me. Obviously, this structure is pretty bullish, looking for a test of that 55 EMA down at 260.97. If this level breaks here at 264.68, that's going to be pretty bearish as well, right at that trend line. It really needs to hold now if it's going to do it. Otherwise, it looks like we're going to get a lower low on Tesla, which could be a change of trend. You also have pretty strong bearish momentum here. We're below the 50 line on RSI, indicating that Tesla might be due for a little bit of a pullback. It's been rallying since 18 August, so about a month of upside in a row, and it looks like it's pulling back here now. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples gapping down, going much lower, bearish momentum, not great on the day. We've been in this bearish structure for a while, and that continues to be here. Does look like we might be getting a double bottom right at this 71.40 area. We tested that level and got a quick rejection, which is interesting. We also have a higher RSI read at the same price level, so some definite divergence happening there on staples as well. Clearly interesting. Looking at discretionary, big gap down, fell through the session, hit the 144 EMA. We'll see if this area holds. If it doesn't, the trend line is sitting all the way down at 167.68. And then my next support is 166.78. Big bearish momentum, big bearish RSI. Does not look great. and you can see the RSI much lower even at a similar price level, so showing weakness on discretionary. Obviously, Tesla looked weak. We talked about that already, and it makes sense that that is following through on discretionaries. Moving over to breadth on the 50 and the 200-day averages, not much of a change here. Slightly positive day on the 50-day average, slightly bearish day on the 200. At this point, it looks like we're coiling, waiting for a clear move. If you're coiling at these lows, I would expect the next move to be bullish. Doesn't mean that we can't get one more big wick down before that bullish move happens. Maybe on the FOMC day, certainly possible. But right now we don't have any new information. Tested the same level on the 50-day average, continues to hold right there. Didn't get all the way down to this trend line, so it's holding slightly higher, but it was a bearish day and it did take out my level here. So basically no changes going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the dollar on the hour and the 12-hour, you can see we were consolidating on Sunday, big leg down here on Monday, basically held in that zone. Technically, we got a change of trend. We got the 9, 21, and 55 EMAs here on the hourly chart, showing some short-term bearishness, bearish momentum, bearish RSI. 12-hour chart, still a very bullish structure. We're right at that 9 EMA. Momentum, technically bearish, but it's very weak momentum. RSI, still bullish. No clear direction here. Again, this has been a very bullish push. We've been talking about it for a while. If you want to see the longer time frames for that, check out the Sunday video. But overall, if this starts to break out here, that's going to look very weak for equities. But it's definitely interesting to see a little bit of weakness in the shorter time frames. Moving over to bonds, JNK did not do much on the day at all. Basically no momentum here. I did want to highlight this bullish engulf candle on the TLT though. You can see we gapped down, rallied throughout the day, ended up bullish compared to the previous day. Momentum ticked up slightly. RSI still bearish. And this is obviously a very bearish structure still, but a little bit interesting. Might show some signs of life in the next day or two. Moving over to the volatility indices, move index popped up a little bit, not showing much at all. Looking at the VIX, gapped up, hit the 21, fell a little bit, still consolidating in the same zone. It is worth noting that momentum continues to tick towards bullish a little bit, definitely interesting. RSI crossing the SMA, looking a little bit more bullish as well. Might be something to watch as we go closer to the FOMC day. Moving over to my accounts, you can see I did lose a little bit of money on that IWM position I had going into the Monday session. I decided not to accept those shares as it looked very weak on the session. Looking at the Qs, made a little bit of money there. Decided to roll out and down that call for 370 for a $1.42 credit. NASDAQ is up a little bit after hours. It's closer to 71. My max profit on that is 371.42. So this loss that's showing on those calls is not reality yet. It's just showing a little bit of volatility going into Tuesday's session. Overall, I'm basically neutral with that 370 call and those shares. Let me know down in the comment section what you think is coming up for the FOMC day or where the markets are going to go tomorrow. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.